Hey everyone, this is Tony with your 80s Star Basketball Weekly Auction Recap. We're going to go over past auction, confirmed sales, and also what's upcoming for the week. For all past sales, we're going to go back to April 9th, and we'll start with the three Michael Jordan 84-85 cards. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time on the John Stockton and Hakeem Olajuwon cards from that same year, because they had some nice sales this week, including the two autograph cards. Both had a PSA 8 card grade with a 10 auto. And then we'll wrap things up with the 85-86 second year Michael Jordan 117 card. So starting with the 101, there were three confirmed sales of graded cards. We had two PSA 6s and a PSA 7. Uh, this PSA 7 was on eBay and it went for $36,000. That's about what I expect for the PSA 7 of this card. And I really like this card, even with the bottom ding here. We usually see these edge dings on the top of the card from inserting in the sleeves and pages. But overall, this is a nice presentation card. At $36,000, that's why I think it went for that price with this edge ding, thumb ding. If not for that, I think it went for a little bit higher. We also have two PSA 6s. One was a sale on Alt that went for $26,000, 400. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this cut. We also had another one. This one was on eBay, PSA 6. Slightly tilt cut, nice side to side centering. Yeah, it's a nice overall card, and this went for $28,000. So definitely a premium over this PSA 6 that sold at Alt. Also, you can see, and I don't want to say only, but there was only an $8,000 difference between this 6 and this 7 here, and that's mainly due to the eye appeal of the card. And I think this edge ding on the PSA 7 hurt it, as we previously spoke about. Again, if you have questions regarding card values, we can always check out values. So if you go on Card Ladder here, so here we're looking at past sales of PSA 7 using Card Ladder's wealth of information of data, and we can adjust this too. So we're going to look at the last 6 months of sales of PSA 7 slabs. And you see, going back to November 4th, there was a $47,000 sale. Then we had a 48,000. Then we're hovering around 38, 38, 37. So this was the lowest sale of a PSA 7 in the last 6 months, but I attribute that to just that bottom ding in the car that takes a little bit away from the aesthetics. If we look back to the last year, if you look at the 1 year data of past sales, you see the PSA 7 star peaked at $68,000, $68.3 thousand. That was on September 28th. But since then, we've seen a gradual decline in prices. I expect that to continue with the economic situations that are outside of our power, so to speak. If we take a look at the last 6 months, we still see the decline. Very slight though. And if we look at the past 3 months, more of a flat line, if a high of $38,000. And then we go back to the sale that we just talked about, the $36,000 sale. But again, I attribute this $36,000 sale. It's a nice card, just it had that thumbprint ding on the bottom. Looking at upcoming auctions, we're starting to see an uptick on 101s being offered, all different grades. So there's a nice variety for folks with different budgets and targets for their one-on-ones, whether getting another one in their collection or a new one. BGS 5 on eBay, another eBay, BGS 8.5. See the other BGS. Golden has a BGS 8. Then we look at the PSA ones. We have a PSA 7 on eBay. We have another PSA 6 on eBay. We have a PSA 6 on Golden. It'll be interesting to see how these two end up. They're in the same auction that ends in 9 days with Golden. And you see the BGS 8s at $13,420, and the PSA 6 is nearly at $11,000. eBay also has a PSA 8, but this is one of the buy it now ones, so you can take a look at that later. With the 195, there were two confirmed sales. BGS 7.5 went for $4,000. PSA 6 went for $4,000. So you see the 1.5 grade difference cards went for the same price. Looking at upcoming auctions, we have two that are on eBay. Both are PSA 6 cards. And these are the starting bids for each. So we'll see where these end up, but they're already at the PSA 6 price. So not sure if they're going to get a bid. Well, we will see. For the 288, I saw three confirmed sales. We had a BGS 7.5, PSA 6, and a PSA 3. This PSA 3 was a nice entry point, $2,246. PSA 6 went for $5,350, and this BGS 7.5 went for $5,600. Upcoming, I saw two 288s that are available, both on eBay. One's with Probstein, that's the 4, and we have a PSA 6 that's currently at $5,099. Thin border on this one. Another thin border, but doesn't, you may have a little bit more thickness than this other one. Getting into the Olajuwon sales. So we have three confirmed Hakeem Olajuwon, four Barkley, and we had a John Stockton. So everyone's talking about the PSA 8, the 10 auto. So we're going to bring that up. And here's a picture of the card. Definitely A quality, better than average centering than what we're used to this card. For comparison, this is my PSA 7 with the 10 autograph. And you could definitely tell with the centering, and I have the soft corner here on my copy. 100% inferior card. So this, in my opinion, earned the 7. It's a true 7. And this is definitely a true 8. Wonder how far it is from being an 8.5, because the centering is clearly nice. And as folks know, this one's the Olajuwon sold for $15,457. I also opened up the bid history of this, and I noticed a few bids that were kind of off. Saw some similar bids on the Stockton. A few users going by their feedback rating were on both auctions. Not too much that I question on the Olajuwon, even though I know some of these are existing star collectors, dealers, and flippers. The Stockton sold for $28.59 on Greg Morris. And I did see some interesting bid history on this one, especially this zero feedback person. This person bid it multiple times and had automatic bids get triggered too. So this raises a flag for me. Just curious about it. It was a very nice card. I didn't see any tilt to it, so I think it's a true eight. So again, just to recap, the Stockton sold for $2,859, which is a premium of about $1,300 over a regular PSA 8, and the Olajuwon card sold for over 15,000, and that is a premium over eights. So let's take a look at some of the card trends for them. Here's the PSA and BGS history of what cards have been selling for with the Olajuwon autograph. So we had the sale we just looked at, $15,457. This is the eight. Then we had another sale on 328. This was a authentic card with an auto 10, so we can't really compare that. Let's take a look at some of the higher graded cards. So this was a 6 with a 10 auto that sold for 2,500. Here we have a BGS 7 with a 10 auto 2000, not really apples to apples comparison. If we go back a little bit more, we can see some more auctions. So here we have a BGS 8 with the 10 auto, another BGS. Here we have another 6 with a 10 auto. I did see this sale here. So this was a BGS 8.5 with a JSA authenticated 10 auto, not the same card. This sold for $7,500. On August of 2021, we had a BGS 9 with some inscriptions with a 9 auto, sold for $5,842. Here's another one I found. This is slightly more than the price I paid for my card. This is a 7 with a 10 auto, and I like the inscription of the dream here. And you see the typical thinness of the border. Looking at the John Stockton, far more of these out there than the Olajuwon in all grades. And I'll show you the quick PSA report, the pop report for both. So we had the 28.59 sale. We had some comparable sales of the Stockton last October, right before Halloween. We had an 8 card, 10 autograph. This was a unique bluish pen, teal, almost like a teal. This sold for $28.99, so nearly identical to the last price paid. On January, we had a BGS 8 with an 8 auto. Not going to really compare that. In April 2024, we had a 9 auto with a 9 card, and that sold for $3,000, so actually more than what this sold for. Then in October of 2023, I sold this. This had a 9 card and a 9 auto, and this sold for $4,080. Looking at some of the other non-autograph sales, we had a PSA 7 Stockton on eBay sell for $543. Didn't like the centering on this one too much, so that's probably why it sold for $543. We had a roll Barkley. We're not going to go into the roll cards. We had a BGS 8.5 Barkley rookie, sold for nearly 2,200. Here we had a BGS 9 John Stockton that sold for $921. Cut looks fine on this one, so this would probably cross over to PSA. Another PSA 7 Barkley, $1,410. And the last one was a BGS 7.5 Olajuwon that sold for $895. Upcoming Olajuwon sales, I didn't see one that's going to end within the next week. Same thing for the Barkley. And I saw one for the Stockton 7.5 BGS, and that's currently at $549. For MJ, I saw one confirmed sale in the last week. This was on eBay. BGS 9 with all 9 subgrades. See some corner whiteness here. So BGS, as always, little lenient with the corner grading. This sold for $2,500. And I did not see an upcoming 117 auction. Going back to the pop reports, just wanted to show folks how does the John Stockton compare with the Hakeem Olajuwon. So we know they're in the 200s. So let's look at Barkley too. So here, this is 10, this is 9, this is 8. So right now, the highest graded Barkley autograph is a 7.5. We don't know what the auto grade is, but the card grade is a 7.5. Then you have 9 7s. Scroll a little bit down. Stockton, there is a 2 PSA 9 Stockton rookies with an autograph. Total pop is 27. The Hakeem Olajuwon total pop is 34. There's no 10s, no 7s, and we know 8 is currently the highest card grade with an autograph on here. So thanks for joining in this week's auction recap. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to reach out to Ryan and myself. Thanks, folks.